Have you ever felt this way? You've spent, countless hours mastering English grammar, a seemingly endless list of vocabulary words. But when it comes to having a real spontaneous conversation, you just freeze up.
Uh-huh.
You feel stuck, maybe nervous, or just not quite fluent. It's sort of like knowing all the notes on a piano, but still not really being able to play the song.
Yeah, that's a really common feeling. You're definitely not alone in that.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into mastering real-life English conversations. Our mission really is to give you a genuine shortcut to communicative competence, moving you beyond just the theory to confident, natural expression in your daily interactions.
Right.
We're going to unpack how practical application can significantly reduce that anxiety you might feel and truly foster authentic communication.
And to do that, we pulled together insights from a pretty comprehensive guide, some recent research, and various real-life conversation scenarios. Basically, we're trying to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge specifically for you.
And here's the big takeaway right from the start, I think. True fluency extends far beyond just memorizing rules.
Absolutely.
It actually resides in your ability to confidently navigate the myriad of interactions that make up daily life. So consider this deep dive your roadmap to transforming your entire approach to English. So where do we begin on this journey? Often the crucial foundational elements are the ones we kind of gloss over, but they're surprisingly powerful.
Exactly. When we talk about these building blocks, what often gets overlooked is just how much weight seemingly simple elements carry,
Yeah.
in establishing rapport and ensuring interactions go smoothly.
Okay, let's start with that first impression. Greetings and introductions. There's a whole spectrum, right?
Yeah.
From the formal, like, good morning, afternoon, evening, which is great for professional settings, strangers, maybe authority figures, to the more informal, hi, hello, how's it going? Or even what's up for friends and family.
Standard stuff.
And introducing people also depends on the context. You might say, Mr. Wilson, I'd like you to meet Dr. Edward Smith versus, Mary, this is my friend Jim. And the typical response is often something like, it's nice to meet you.
Simple enough.
But it's not just about the words, is it? There's this whole invisible language at play, the nonverbal cues. These can completely change the meaning of an interaction.
Oh, definitely.
In the United States, for instance, a firm handshake lasting maybe 2 to 3 seconds combined with a genuine smile is customary. It's almost like an unspoken agreement.
Right. And what happens if you miss that? It's not just a minor slip-up.
No.
Failure to perform these nonverbal cues can implicitly communicate, well, maybe disinterest or disrespect or even just shyness. It can potentially hinder the conversation before it even really begins. So conversational competence really extends beyond just linguistic accuracy. It has to encompass that sociocultural appropriateness, which directly influences how you're perceived and ultimately the success of the interaction.
Okay, so from those first hellos, we naturally slide into something a little more nuanced. The art of small talk. And honestly, it's far more important than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely vital.
In many English-speaking cultures, small talk is a key component. Avoiding it can actually lead to people thinking you're aloof or unfriendly.
It really can.
Common, safe topics for breaking the ice include, well, the weather, obviously. Hobbies or interests. Current events, though, be careful to avoid controversial political topics.
Yeah, good advice.
Movies and TV shows, work or studies, and even just weekend plans. Initiating small talk often involves context-based questions or maybe a compliment followed by a question.
Right.
And to maintain the flow, you'll want to use follow-up questions and show genuine interest. Keep it going.
Yeah, and the real magic of small talk, it isn't just about being polite. It's actually quite a sophisticated psychological tool in a way.
How so?
Well, it's like your brain is quickly scanning for compatibility.
Yeah.
It's a low-stakes interview almost before you commit to anything deeper. Think of it as social calibration.
Ah.
It allows individuals to gradually assess each other's personality, interests, social comfort levels, all before delving into more substantive discussions. It really forms the basis for any deeper relationship, whether that's social or professional.
All right, let's move on to the subtle power of core conversational phrases and how you deliver them. We're talking about essential phrases for agreement like, yes, that works for me, or simply, sure. For disagreement, especially in professional or maybe sensitive contexts, softer language is often better. Things like, I respectfully disagree, or maybe framing it as a question, I was wondering it.
Good point. Gentler is often better.
To ask for clarification, would you mind repeating yourself for me, is super useful. And for initiating opinions, you might hear, what do you think about? Or it looks to me like.
Standard phrases, but how you use them matters.
Exactly. And here's a fascinating insight. These subtle linguistic choices profoundly influence how your fluency and cultural competence are perceived. Our sources really emphasize avoiding awkward words like ha, or because their overuse can really detract from your perceived fluency and confidence.
It's true. There's actually some brain science behind this with filler words. Our brains tend to perceive and ums as signals of cognitive load or uncertainty, even if your grammar is technically perfect.
Interesting.
So it's not just about sounding fluent in the textbook sense. It's about signaling confidence, almost unconsciously. Conversely, the deliberate use of polite, indirect phrasing shows not only grammatical correctness, but also cultural sensitivity and social intelligence. These are really hallmarks of advanced fluency.
So it shows you understand the unspoken rules.
Precisely. Where directness can sometimes be perceived as rude, this means conversational mastery isn't solely about what you say, but very much about how you say it.
Okay, with those foundational elements covered, let's dive into some practical real-life scenarios. How about we start with transactional talk? Shopping experiences.
Good place to start. Very common.
Think about being at the grocery store. You might need to say, excuse me, where can I find the dairy products? And the clerk responds, they're in aisle 5, next to the bread section.
Straightforward.
Then you might ask, do you have any discounts on vegetables today? Key vocabulary here includes things like aisle, discounts, organic vegetables.
Right.
Or if you're shopping for clothes, common interactions involve sizes, colors, trying things on using phrases like, do you have this in a larger size? Or, can I try this on?
Yeah, and the crucial takeaway here, I think, is that these transactional conversations often follow a pretty clear pattern. Inquiry, information, follow-up, or decision.
Right.
Success relies not on just reciting a memorized script, but on your ability to formulate clear questions, understand the direct responses, and then dynamically build further questions based on the information you get. It's about being responsive.
Not just reciting lines. Okay. Next, let's tackle some high-stakes interactions. Health and medical appointments. This is where clarity really, really matters.
Absolutely critical here.
Yeah, making an appointment might sound something like, hello, I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Smith. Sure, are you available tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Yes, that works for me. Thank you.
Standard procedure.
When discussing general health, useful phrases include, I've been feeling unwell for a few days, or perhaps, I have a headache and a sore throat. Being clear about symptoms.
And in these health scenarios, communication isn't just polite, it carries extremely high stakes. A lack of clarity can have direct, potentially negative consequences on your well-being.
Yeah, you don't want mistakes there.
Exactly. So this elevates the importance of precise vocabulary, clear articulation, and definitely the ability to ask for clarification if you're unsure. In situations like these, preparing little cheat sheets with relevant vocabulary isn't just helpful, it's potentially vital for, well, functional survival.
Good point. Okay, let's talk about being on the move. Travel and transportation.
Another common one.
Asking for and giving directions is a classic scenario. Excuse me, I think I'm lost. Can you tell me how to get to the nearest subway station? And the response might be, sure, go straight ahead for 2 blocks, then turn left at the traffic lights. The station will be on your right. Key vocabulary includes turn left, right, go straight, block, traffic lights, and maybe landmark.
Yep, essential direction words.
Using public transport or taking a taxi involves phrases like, is this where I catch the bus for the zoo? Or, can I have a return ticket, please?
Right, and the key insight with travel conversations is their sequential and often conditional nature. Meaning your next question or statement frequently depends entirely on the information you just received.
Oh, okay.
So this really emphasizes the critical importance of active listening and cognitive flexibility, being able to adapt your conversation based on that incoming information,
Right.
rather than just rigidly sticking to some pre-scripted dialogue you practiced.
Makes sense. You have to react. How about savvy dining? Eating out.
Always a good one.
Yeah.
Sometimes tricky.
Ordering a meal is usually pretty straightforward. Would you like to order now? Yes. I'd like bacon and eggs with buttered toast, or maybe, do you have hot chocolate? Or simply, I'll have the grilled chicken, please.
Simple enough.
And making special requests is easy once you know the phrasing. Actually, could I have just water? No ice, please.
Right. But here's where cultural norms really shape expectations in dining, especially maybe in the U.S.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, for instance, there's often an expectation of free water and refills, and the sheer amount of ice and drinks can surprise people.
True. So much ice.
But then there are the hidden costs, like tax and tip, which are typically added at the cash register or end of the meal, and not usually included in the menu
Right.
price.
That can really throw you off if you're not expecting it.
Exactly. And the confusion isn't just about the language itself, but about these unspoken rules. Understanding these cultural bits means you don't need to explicitly ask for, say, water usually, or budget for it. But not knowing about tax and tip can lead to unexpected expenses or, misunderstandings.
Yeah. Awkward moments at the till.
It just highlights that effective communication is deeply embedded in these cultural practices.
Okay. Good point. All right. Let's explore building bonds, social interactions, and catching up.
The more relational side of things?
At social gatherings, it's often about self-introduction. Hi, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. And using icebreakers, maybe offering a compliment. That's a lovely bracelet. Can I ask where you got it? Something like that.
Good examples.
When catching up with friends, common phrases include, how was your day? What's new with you? Or maybe, I haven't heard from you in ages. How have you been?
And the core principle here really is reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yeah. Successful social interactions aren't just about you answering questions. They usually show a genuine back and forth exchange. One person asks, the other responds, and then reciprocates the question or asks a related one.
So you have to ask back.
Exactly. For learners, it's not enough to just answer. You have to learn to ask questions in return, maybe pivot to related topics. This shifts the focus from being just a passive responder to an active participant, someone who's co-creating the conversation.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, finally, let's touch on professional politeness, work and business settings.
Important context for many learners.
Basic office interactions might involve things like, can you print this document for me? Or would you mind repeating yourself? Small talk is also really common in the workplace, actually.
Oh yeah, water cooler chat.
And participating in business meetings requires specific phrases for, say, opening. If we're all here, let's get started. Setting the agenda. Okay, let's move on to today's agenda. Expressing opinions. What do you think about? Providing feedback, maybe negotiating, and summarizing at the end.
Right. And the key insight for professional English, I'd say, is that it operates on two distinct but interconnected levels. There's a formal, structured layer for the official tasks, the meeting agendas, the reports. But there's also an informal layer for building rapport, having that positive work environment.
So switching between the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ability to switch between formal and informal language fluidly demonstrates a really high degree of communicative competence and cultural adaptability. Professional English isn't some rigid set of rules. It's actually a dynamic skill set.
Okay, fascinating. Now let's move beyond just the words and scenarios to something truly captivating. The subtle yet profound cultural nuances that shape English interactions. We're calling this the invisible language.
This is where it gets really interesting.
First, let's talk about understanding nonverbal cues. These are that invisible language. For example, differences in eye contact. It's highly valued by many white Americans when both speaking and listening.
Right. Direct eye contact often signals confidence, engagement.
But in some Asian cultures, for instance, direct eye contact can be considered rude. A student looking down while a teacher speaks might actually be a sign of respect, not inattention.
Big difference. Huge potential for misunderstanding.
And personal space is another big one. Americans generally prefer about an arm's length, maybe 2 feet or so, from strangers. Physical touching typically makes Americans uncomfortable, generally speaking.
Yeah, the personal bubble is real.
And then there are gestures. The thumbs up gesture in the USA means good or okay, but it might be offensive elsewhere. Pointing directly at people is generally considered rude.
And the critical takeaway here is that misinterpreting these nonverbal cues can lead to negative judgments about your character or how engaged you are, regardless of how good your verbal skills are.
Even if your English is perfect.
Exactly. This can create immediate barriers to rapport and trust. Cultural competence isn't just an add-on. It's an integral component of true language fluency.
Okay. Next, let's look at saying, directness versus indirectness in communication. How communication styles vary is crucial.
Hugely important.
The dominant U.S. cultural norm tends to be relatively direct, valuing openness, getting to the point. In contrast, many Asian, Latin American, and even British cultures often favor more indirectness, especially when talking about negative or potentially embarrassing topics. British people, for example, are often perceived as more reserved.
It's a spectrum, really.
This also ties into high context versus low context cultures. In low context cultures, like the US generally, the words themselves convey most of the meaning.
Explicit communication.
But in high context cultures, a lot more meaning is conveyed through subtle verbal and nonverbal cues. The context itself, the situation, the relationship, it's all key.
Right. And the fascinating concept here is what some call the implicit contract of context.
Okay.
Violating this contract, like being overly direct in a culture that values indirectness, can cause discomfort, maybe offense, or just profound misunderstanding. It actively hinders relationship building.
So you need to read the room, culturally speaking.
Precisely. It means you must not only understand what is being said, but also how it's being said and maybe why it's being said that way, all based on the cultural context. And this often requires adapting your own communication style.
That takes practice. Okay, from there, let's explore what we're calling cultural gateways and tripwires. The role of humor and idioms.
Ah, yes, humor. Always tricky.
It varies so widely, doesn't it? British humor is often dry, sarcastic, self-deprecating. American humor tends to be more straightforward, sometimes slapstick. Australians often combine elements, frequently using blunt, irreverent humor and sarcasm.
And sarcasm in particular can be so easily misinterpreted if you're not tuned in.
Definitely. And then there are idioms and phrasal verbs. Native speakers use them constantly, like cost an arm and a leg or figure out.
All the time, without even thinking.
A lack of familiarity with these can make conversations really challenging to follow.
Yes, so humor and idioms function as powerful cultural gateways. Understanding them allows for deeper integration, better rapport, it signals cultural fluency. But they are also potential tripwires. Misinterpreting them, or worse, misusing them, can cause offense, confusion, or just make you seem awkward. True fluency requires moving beyond literal translation to grasp these figurative and culturally specific meanings.
Got it. Gateways and tripwires. Okay, finally, in this section, let's highlight some common cultural mistakes, the pitfalls to maybe avoid.
Good idea. Things to watch out for.
One is over-formality. Using phrases like, I would be most grateful if you could possibly pass the salt, instead of just, can you pass the salt, please? In a casual setting can sound really stiff, almost robotic.
Yeah, a bit unnatural.
Another is misinterpreting politeness. Sometimes, that's an interesting idea, might subtly convey, I don't really agree in some English-speaking cultures.
The art of the gentle letdown.
And definitely don't assume uniformity across all English-speaking cultures. I mean, I heard this story once about someone asking for a thong in a UK shoe store.
Oh dear. Flip-flops, right?
Right, meaning flip-flops.
Yeah.
But in the US, it means, well, women's underwear, led to quite the misunderstanding.
Yeah, vocabulary differences are key.
Or holiday in the UK usually means vacation, whereas in the USA, it typically refers to a public holiday like Christmas or Thanksgiving. Even spelling differs color versus color.
Little things, but they add up.
And just being too direct, as we mentioned, can sometimes be perceived as rude in many English-speaking countries, even if that's not your intention.
So what's the root cause of many of these difficulties? Often it's the peril of literal translation and just a lack of cultural adaptability.
Applying your own rules.
Exactly. Learners often apply the linguistic and social rules of their native language directly to English, and the consequence is often a breakdown in effective communication. Cultivating that cultural awareness and flexibility is imperative. Learning to think in English, not just grammatically, but culturally too.
Okay, that's a lot to think about on the cultural side. We've talked about what fluency entails, the common scenarios you'll face, the cultural nuances. Now let's shift to the how. What are the best strategies for you, the listener, to practice and truly develop your fluency? This is your path forward.
All right, let's get practical.
First, you absolutely have to get speaking. Active practice techniques are key. Role-playing, for instance. It's a really powerful method for practicing real-world scenarios like, ordering food, asking for directions, even simulating doctor visits.
Builds confidence in a safe space.
It encourages quick word choice and definitely builds confidence. Also, engaging in online communities and finding language exchange partners is crucial. There are forums like on Reddit, social media groups, Discord servers, lots of places to find consistent, low-pressure practice.
Getting that real interaction.
And here's a game changer, I think, that many people aren't fully leveraging yet. AI-powered language learning applications.
Ah, the tech angle.
Yeah, tools like ELSA Speak and Speak offer AI tutors that give you real-time personalized feedback on fluency, intonation, pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, the whole package.
And they don't judge you if you make mistakes.
Exactly. They can create custom scenarios and offer a completely judgment-free practice environment. It's like having a private tutor available whenever you need one.
But the real insight here, I think, is that no single method is a magic pill. True fluency really emerges from a synergistic approach, combining diverse practice methods.
Mixing it up.
Right. Each method addresses different facets: fluency, accuracy, confidence, spontaneity, cultural awareness. Combining them leads to more robust and adaptable fluency rather than just isolated skills.
Okay, so active speaking is one pillar. Another powerful strategy is intuitive learning, immersion through listening and reading.
Can't skip the input.
Watching English TV shows or movies, listening to podcasts like this one, or music at all helps improve pronunciation, helps you understand natural speech patterns, grasp intonation, and build vocabulary passively. Mimicking dialogues you hear can also really assist. And reading diverse materials, books, magazines, blogs, expands your vocabulary and gives you rich content for future conversations. Plus, it supports strong sentence construction.
And this kind of active immersion serves as a powerful catalyst for intuitive language acquisition. By consistently exposing yourself to authentic English, your brain starts to implicitly internalize grammatical structures, natural phrasing, intonation.
Learning without realizing you're learning.
Sort of, yeah. This unconscious learning then translates into more spontaneous and natural spoken output, and it significantly reduces that tendency to overthink everything before you speak. A substantial portion of speaking improvement actually occurs through sophisticated listening and reading.
Interesting. And crucially, you need to become your own coach. Right. Through self-correction and reflection.
Absolutely, taking ownership.
Recording your voice. I know, many people dislike hearing themselves.
It can be cringeworthy.
Yeah, but this practice is extremely beneficial. It reveals habits you might not notice, like speaking too quickly when you're nervous or maybe mumbling. And surprisingly, it can also demonstrate areas where you've actually improved.
Gives you objective feedback.
Preparing those cheat sheets we mentioned earlier, researching vocabulary and comment phrases for anticipated situations like doctor's appointments or job interviews, can significantly reduce anxiety.
Preparation boosts confidence.
Daily journaling, just writing in English and maybe reading it aloud, helps practice sentence construction and enhances speaking skills too. And finally, reflecting on past conversations.
How did it go?
Yeah, taking a moment to think about its progress, your comprehension level, your comfort level, any unfamiliar words you encountered. This increases confidence over time and pinpoints specific areas you need to work on.
And this whole approach, all these techniques, they foster what psychologists call metacognition.
Thinking about thinking.
Basically, yeah. The ability to think about your own thinking and learn the processes is like becoming your own language detective. By actively reflecting on your performance, you identify gaps and you strategize solutions. You transform mistakes into explicit learning opportunities.
Turning errors into lessons.
Exactly. This self-awareness accelerates fluency development way beyond just mere exposure. It empowers you as an active agent in your own language journey.
Love that. Okay, and to help you stay on track with all this, setting smart learning goals is incredibly effective.
Can't underestimate good goals.
We're talking specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. SMART.
Right.
For example, instead of just vaguely saying, I want to speak better English, a SMART goal would be something like, I will practice ordering coffee in English at least 3 times this week and record myself afterwards to check my pronunciation.
Much more concrete.
Yeah.
Actionable.
It gives you something specific to work towards and know if you've done it.
And that structure is vital because smart goal setting acts as a powerful driver for motivation and sustained engagement. The measurable and time-bound aspects offer clear benchmarks for progress.
You can see yourself improving.
Exactly. It allows you to track your growth and observe tangible results. This structured approach helps you maintain consistency, which is absolutely fundamental to long-term fluency. It transforms the, let's face it, sometimes daunting task of language learning into manageable, achievable steps.
Makes total sense. Okay, As we wrap up this deep dive, just remember that mastering real-life English conversation is an empowering journey. It's about transforming that theoretical knowledge into practical, confident communication.
And fluency isn't some fixed destination you arrive at.
No, it's an ongoing process where consistency is really key, and every single conversation, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, contributes to your learning journey.
You now have, hopefully, a more robust foundation. From active speaking techniques and those AI-powered tools, and the immersive listening, self-correction, and critically, recognizing and adapting to those subtle nonverbal cues, communication styles, and the unique humor of English-speaking cultures.
Right.
That understanding elevates communication from just a mere linguistic exchange to truly effective and, importantly, respectful interaction.
Well said. And here's a final provocative thought for you to consider. The path to speaking English without doubting yourself or feeling nervous isn't really about eliminating mistakes entirely. That's probably impossible anyway.
And maybe not even desirable. Mistakes are how we learn.
True. It's more about cultivating the confidence to embrace every interaction as a vital learning opportunity. Knowing that cultural adaptation and continuous learning, rather than aiming for some kind of rigid perfection, are the real superpowers in real-life English conversation.
Well put.
So confidently step into that world.